Good afternoon. We'll just wait for a couple of minutes more for some people who are just joining in. Okay. Good afternoon again to everyone who are there on the group. So many people. Yes, good afternoon, everyone. So today we will discuss on a very good topic, which is on exemptions, right? Like who would not like to get exemptions from GST? Yeah, there is you have to pay so much of GST, so you would like to take exemptions. So this is a topic that's come at the right time when you have to get Diwali sweets. This topic is giving you some kind of sweets through the studies, saying that, okay, till now we have discussed on how to pay tax. Today we'll discuss on how to relish the sweet of exemptions. This chapter is not in study material. Oh my God. Are you sure? How can exemptions not be there in the study material? Just check, Manvi. It is there in study material. Just that I told during Diwali, this is a sweet for you. So you have responded back that during Diwali, we need to burst crackers. So you have bursted a bomb on me now. Just check. This is there as chapter 5. That's what Bhavna Garg has also confirmed, and everyone is confirming that this is there. Study material नहीं है अभी, वो फिर क्या है नितिन? Okay, that was a good start in terms of a heartbreaker and then a relaxation. But kindly check Manvi. Okay, so why exemption? Is it good or bad? It is good from the perspective that the person who is providing service, he will not be liable to pay taxes. But from a recipient's perspective also, it's good because ultimately the tax is borne by the final consumer, right? Okay. So ultimately, it's borne by the final consumer. So if the supplier doesn't charge GST, then the receiver will not be paying the tax. So from that perspective, it's good. But you see the flip side of it. The flip side is that if you do not charge GST, okay, then the credit chain will break, and whatever credits you have, okay, whatever credits you have, and now you have purchased it because the supplier will by default charge GST. Now, when the supplier is charging GST, you as a recipient, when you have to pay taxes, you're not paying taxes. So what the government said when they gave ITC, that we trust you that you will make a revenue out of this and your supply will be taxable. But now when your supply is not taxable, from our reading of input tax credit, we'll get to know that input tax credit will not be available when you are making any exempt supplies. So there the disadvantages of the credit flow comes in, wherein a supplier will have to reverse the input tax credit. Okay. So Praveen is saying that the bomb of not there in the chapter, it was not uploaded initially. Later, Board of Studies has uploaded the chapter 5 exemptions. So it is there. Okay. Be rest assured that I am not teaching you something which is not in your syllabus. very much in your syllabus. Within your syllabus itself is so vast that I cannot imagine going outside, right? Yes, yes. Another example is in case of free samples. Yeah, free samples or any exempt supply when you make. Section 17 gives you this restriction. They are saying that uh, any input tax credit available on the sale of exempted goods or exempted services has to be reversed. So ITC, to that extent, you cannot get it. Okay. So let's go into exemption. When a supply falls under the charging section, such supply is chargeable to GST, because first is it should come under the charging chapter, then only GST is applicable. Now, after coming into the chargeability, what does chargeability say? It applies to all goods and services are chargeable except alcoholic liquor for human consumption and 5 petroleum products. So this is the brief of the charge, wherein all goods and services are chargeable except this 1 plus 5 products. Now, after you have confirmed that, okay, you're not dealing in this 1 plus 5 products, that is totally 6 products, then you will have to check further if the goods or services are exempt from tax. First, you will check the chargeability. Is it satisfying? Yes, it is satisfying, because supply includes all, right? Supply includes all forms of supply of goods and services except alcoholic liquor for human consumption and these 5 petroleum products. So if you are doing any supply, you are falling under the chapter of supply. Now, next level, what you have to do is you have to check for exemption. Okay. How do you check for exemption? You have to go to the exemption notification. You have to go to the rate notification. In the rate notification, if the rate is nil or zero, that means it is exempted. And you have another notification specifically for exemption. If it fits under that, then also it is exempted. So exemption could be in terms of two ways. One is the rate notification will give you the rate as nil or zero. Second is through a exemption notification where it will be mentioned that these following services are exempted. Okay. If it is exempted, then no tax, else liable to pay tax. So first the flow of the taxability is, first you will go to chargeability. Everything will be there. After chargeability, you'll come to the exemption notification. If it is mentioned there, it will become exempt. If it is not mentioned there, it is taxable. Now, getting to the definition. Pranav, I have uploaded all the notes. All the notes I've uploaded of 3 and 4. Yes, I've uploaded. Might be it's not approved. I will check with them because I have just uploaded it yesterday, all the chapters. And Ritika, if you have old edition, you can download the latest edition from the Board of Studies website. You will get the latest one. I understand, Hardik. Yes, it's not visible. I will tell the Board of Studies team to approve it. So once they approve it, then it will be available to you.
Sir, all the documents has been uploaded.
Uploaded?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it's, I've got a confirmation.
It will be visible by morning.
Okay, fine, sir. Let's confirm that it's available. Thank you. So now let's get into the chapter of definition of exempt supply. What is an exempt supply? Exempt supply means supply of all goods or services. Supply of all goods or services or both, which attracts nil rate of tax or which is wholly exempt from tax and includes non-taxable supply. So supply definition is very huge. What does it include? It includes supply of any goods or services, because exemption can be for goods, exemption can be for services. We have separate notification for exemption of goods and separate exemption notification for services. Now, for your exams, since goods are not covered, the exemption on goods also is not covered for you. So you don't have to identify or read anything about exemption of goods. You have to only read about exemption for services. Exemption for goods will be there from your final syllabus. Supply of any goods or services which attracts nil rate of tax. So where the rate of tax is nil, or where it is wholly exempt from tax, which means it is completely exempt from tax, And this part is very important. It says, and it includes non-taxable supply. Okay. So it can be supply of goods where it is nil or exempted, and it also includes non-taxable supply. This is very important because non-taxable supply, we may think that it is liable, but no, non-taxable supply is also not liable to GST, and it is included in the definition of exempt supply. Now, exemption could be various types. It could be in terms of specified activities. It could be in terms of specified supplier. It could be in terms of specified recipients. Various modes are there, wherein just to understand how exemption can be given. Exemption can be given through any modes, saying that if you are a provider of service, your services are exempted. Second type of exemption is if you are providing this service, it could be anybody. Okay. It depends on the nature of service. So exemption style, the style of giving exemption can be through any of these modes. Now, the main section for exemption is coming from section 11, wherein it says that the central government or the state government may, based on the recommendation of the council on taxable goods or services or any other description, where it considers it necessary, okay, where it is satisfied that it is in the public interest, where the central government has to give this notification, okay, on taxable goods or services or of any specified description. If they satisfy it, where the government is satisfied it is necessary, then in the public interest, it may exempt generally the some services or goods either absolutely or subject to some conditions, which means exemption, the power to give exemption is coming from section 11, and 11.1 says that your exemption can be absolute, saying that, okay, services provided by healthcare services is exempted. So there is an absolute without any option, saying that, okay, a person who's providing healthcare services should not charge GST. Or subject to conditions. When it is subject to conditions, it could be conditions like, okay, you are like a real estate. Real estate is chargeable at 5% or 1%, subject to the condition that input tax credit should not be availed. So that is called as subject to notifications. So exemption under 11, it says that the central government can give, again on the recommendation of the GST Council, that certain taxable goods or services where it is in the public interest, they can exempt generally some goods absolutely or subject to some conditions. So the government has given the power to the CBIC to issue the exemption notification. Now that exemption can be saying that, okay, this is completely exempt, or it could be subject to certain conditions. From what? From whole of the tax or part of the tax. The exemption can be from for whole of the tax or part of the tax. Okay. It through a notification. This is the first route. 11.1 says through a notification. Then 11.2 says you can give a special order. Okay. You can give a special order and exempt under exceptional circumstances explicitly specified. Generally, it should be a notification, but notification is taking time for whatever reason, and it is not possible to give a notification. Then the government can give a special order and exempt under special circumstances hold of the tax. When it comes through a notification, it can come through conditions, but in case when it comes to a special order, it will not be without any conditions. There should not be any conditions. And here they cannot exempt part of the tax. When it comes through a special order, they will have to exempt it from the whole of the tax. Okay. And where they consider it necessary, once a notification or an order is passed, then if they want to make any corrections, okay, for the purpose of clarifying the scope or applicability of A and B by notification, they can insert an explanation in A or B. What is A? A is a notification and B is a special order. So they can give a explanation to the notification or through a special order when within a period of 1 year, when they give such clarification within a period of 1 year, then such clarification has retrospective effect. And if it is issued, the circular clarifying something, if it is issued after 1 year, then it will be from the date of when that notification is issued. Okay. Do you know what is retrospective? With effect to past, correct. Previous date, yes. So any date which is prior to present date. So today, if they are issuing a notification, your general knowledge says that yes, it has to be effective from today, correct? But they can give a notification under 11.2, wherein the impact of this will be retrospective. That is from the date when the original notification was issued. Okay. Effect is it will be from a past period. That is, today I give a notification clarifying something. Now that effect of this notification, what I'm issued today, will be from the date of the original notification, provided only one condition, that the original notification and this notification should not be beyond a period of 12 months. Okay. Within 1 year, insert an explanation within 1 year, then it is possible. Now, since you know retrospective effect, I don't have to explain in detail, but just for your information, let's take an example. A notification was issued on 1st of September 2023. This is the notification which gave exemption. Now, in this notification is issued. Now the government thought that when it was getting implemented, there was some problem. So immediately what they did, they issued a clarification. Now the first notification which is issued will be with effect from, WEF is with effect from, it will be from 1st September 2023 itself, correct? Now, once you have this notification, now you want to clarify, saying that there is some problem in this notification, people have understood it mistakenly. So you can issue a notification adding a explanation to earlier notification. In this notification, which was dated 1st September, there was no explanation or clarification. Now you are issuing a notification adding explanation to the earlier notification. So till which date can you issue this? You can issue it before the 31st August 2024. Okay. 1st September 23, yes, or one day before that, right? Because 1 year ends on the 31st August. So you can issue it by the 31st August and say that this will be with effect from which date? First September, yes. 31st August. (2024), not 23. Hasi Agarwal, Hardik Marwa. Can't be 23, no, because the original notification itself was September 23. Okay. Now they can give another notification clarifying that some part which was missed out through an explanation. By when? By the 31st August. The with effect will be from 1st of September 2023 itself. Okay. What is WEF? With effect from. Okay. So WEF is with effect from. When a new notification issued, then it can be effective from a previous date wherein the date shouldn't be beyond 1 year. So if the notification adding explanation is delayed by 1 day, say instead of 31st August, I've gone on 1st September. Okay, then that will be a problem because you have to give the notification with the correct date. Clear with this? भावना, which क्या aspect समझ में नहीं आया आपको? नोटिफिकेशन वाला पॉइंट, नोटिफिकेशन भावना ये बोलता है कि अगर आप किसी को एग्जेम्पशन दे रहे हो तो फिर आप एग्जेम्पशन दे सकते हो। कैसे दे सकते हो? या तो फिर नोटिफिकेशन के थ्रू या तो फिर ऑर्डर के थ्रू। तो इफ यू हैव गिवन अ नोटिफिकेशन देन इट बी इफेक्टिव फ्रॉम दैट डेट। नाउ आफ्टर 1 ईयर, विद इन 1 ईयर अगर आपको एनी क्लैरिफिकेशन देना है तो फिर आप विद इन 1 ईयर उसका क्लैरिफिकेशन दे सकते हो। अगर 31st, जैसे हमने देखा है 1 सितंबर पे ओरिजिनल नोटिफिकेशन है, अब उसका नोटिफिकेशन पे आपको कुछ एक्सप्लेनेशन देना है, सो दैट यू कैन गिव विद इन 1 ईयर, दैट इज विद इन 31st August, बट इट विल बी इफेक्टिव फ्रॉम द डेट ऑफ द ओरिजिनल नोटिफिकेशन। ओके, the effect will be that it will be from a earlier notification date. Okay, very nice. So now exemption, as we know, it can be absolute or unconditional, or it could be in terms of conditional. So after notification 1st September 24 onwards will become applicable to retrospective year. Which one is correct? Riddhi, that is what I was explaining earlier in English. Just for one student's clarification, I clarified it. So after notification is issued on the 1st of September, okay, like in our example, that's got erased. So 1st of September 23 was the original notification. By 31st August, if you issue a clarification, it will have an effect from the date of original notification. Now, any notification which is issued after the 1 year period, that cannot have an effect of retrospectivity. It will be from the original date itself. Okay. Next is the exemption can be of what types? It could be of two types. It could be absolute without any condition, that is called unconditional. If they give absolute notification, it's absolute exemption, then it is disadvantageous for us because we don't have an option to collect and pay tax in excess of the effective rate. If the exemption is zero and if the rate is zero and there is an exemption given and there is no condition attached to it, then we have to compulsorily follow. And if it is conditional, saying that, okay, you have to reverse the input tax credit or you have to do something else, then at the option of the registered person, whether to avail the same or no, this conditional exemption, okay, will become optional, saying that, okay, I'm not able to follow the conditions, so I cannot follow the notifications. So if you give me such conditions, then I cannot follow. So I'll continue charging the original rate. No, if you want to give me the exemption, then you have to give it absolutely without any conditions, saying full exemption is available. If you give me conditions, then I have an option to say that, okay, this is a conditional notification. I'm not able to fulfill the conditions, so I will charge the regular rate. That is on the types of exemption. Next is the exemption. We will go through the slides in terms of writing because the exemption is so huge that I couldn't find anything better other than writing it over here. So charitable and religious activities. Any charitable or religious activities, when it will be exempted? Any NGO, if you go, do you think all NGOs are exempted from tax? Because we say charitable and religious activities. Will all the activities of the NGO be exempted? No. Okay. No. Correct. So just being an NGO is not sufficient. Something else is required. What is it required? That entity should be registered under 12AA or 12AB of the Income Tax Act. So just being an NGO is not sufficient. You should get the recognition from Income Tax Act. You don't need to get another recognition from the GST Act. Okay. You need to just get a recognition from the Income Tax Act saying your activities are examined and you have been given a 12AA certificate. It could be 12AA or 12AB. If you have that certificate, then your activity will be helpful. Okay. So first is the entity should be registered under 12AA and it should be carrying out certain charitable activities. Only then it will be considered. What are those charitable activities? The first is public health. Okay. Charitable activities relating to public health by way of care, counseling of terminally ill, severely physically or mentally disabled persons. So you should be doing care or counseling of whom? You should be doing care or counseling of terminally ill or severely or physically injured. जैसे cholera है, he'll be a person who will always have it. This is an example of terminally ill. या फिर he's got a fractured leg, he's got his wheels, legs under some wheels, then he cannot move at all, right? So he's severely or physically or mentally disabled. In terms of examples are giving HIV, AIDS infected, drugs or alcoholic addicts, such care or counseling of such people you should be doing public health by way of care or counseling or public awareness of preventive health, family planning or prevention of HIV infection. Okay, so you should be having public awareness. You should be the charitable organization. They should be doing one of these activities. They should be doing care or counseling of such category of people, or they should do public awareness of preventive health, family planning, or prevention of any HIV infection. सर टर्मिनली इल मतलब टर्मिनल मतलब जो हमेशा के लिए इल रहेंगे, जिससे किसी को कॉलेरा हो गया, उनकी दवाई देने के बाद भी वो ठीक नहीं होंगे. So that is the example of terminally ill. Screen so big, yes. I will zoom it so that you can watch it more clearly. Yeah, now it will be small, right? Public health or advance for care or counseling or public awareness. Each word is important here because there could be slight change in the facts of the question and you will get tossed. So be careful. It is public health by way of care or counseling of terminally ill, severely physical or mentally disabled person like HIV, AIDS, infected, drugs, alcoholic addicts. Public awareness of preventive health, family planning and prevention of vigilance. Okay, public awareness of preventive health, family planning, prevention of HIV infection or advancement. One is public health ho gaya. Then advancement, you can be into the activity, main objective of advancement of your religion. Okay, it could be religion or it could be of spirituality or yoga. So you can be for public health without following any religion. Second is you can be following a religion and the objective is that to advance that religion. Okay. Or any kind of spirituality, even in that case. Or third is advancement of any kind of educational program or skill development relating to abandoned orphan student. First is public health, health हो गया. Second is in terms of advancement of religion, spirituality or yoga. Third is advancement of educational programs. Okay, advancement of educational programs. Skill development relating to whom? Specifically relating to abandoned or orphaned or homeless children or physically or mentally abused or traumatized people. And in terms of prisoners, if you're doing any kind of advancement, giving them something to work on at the jail itself. Okay, because once they're out of prison, they are not the prisoners. Prisoner will be one who is within the prison itself. So till that point of time, doing something for them in terms of the skill development. Just a few organizations have come up wherein they go to a prisoner's jail and tell them that you need to do chatai business, you need to do mats business. So raw materials will be provided. They'll do the manufacturing of that mats and that will be sold. So what are they doing? They're giving skill development. They're giving skill development for the prisoners or persons above the age of 65 years. This is very crucial because generally it will not be mentioned as to the various age. Here they have mentioned persons above 65 years residing in rural area. Okay, so there it will come as persons, condition is more than 65 years residing in रूरल एरिया. इट कांट बी अ अर्बन एरिया, मतलब वो गांव में रहना चाहिए, शहर में नहीं रह सकते हैं. Sir, advancement means enhancing of organizing. No, advances in relation to public health. Advancement in relation to public health. मतलब more awareness. You should be doing some programs for these purposes. That is called public awareness. Sir, advancement means enhancing of organization. Advancing means not necessary organization enhancement, includes something else also. That is first part. Now, public health, advancement of religion, spirituality, advancement of health or again educational program or skill development. And then last is prevention of environment, watershed, forests, wildlife. Okay, preservation, not prevention, preservation of environment. Environment preserve करने के लिए आप कुछ कर रहे हो, lakes को clean करने के लिए आप कुछ कर रहे हो, save the forest के लिए आप कुछ कर रहे हो, wildlife save करने के लिए save the tiger programs, watersheds, all of that which is done by a entity who's registered under 12AA of the income tax and they're doing this, then these are exempted. What is the difference between this and the Income Tax Act? Income Tax Act says that any entity who's registered under 12AA, the service is exempted. But in GST, they don't stop at an entity who's under 12AA. Once one of the condition is yes, 12AA में register होना जरूरी है. Apart from that, only these specific activities are exempted. Which means that if they're doing any business activities which is not in relation to this, then that will be taxable. So GST is on the activities, not on the entity. Okay. The exemption on this, we said there are various modes of exemption. One of the modes is this, that entity should be 12AA and it should be carrying out the specific activities what is mentioned in the notification. Mentally abused or traumatized. Mentally abused or traumatized person. Okay. Second, so we know majorly this is the one in terms of charitable activities or relating to public health, advancement of religion, advancement of education, and preservation of environment, watershed, forest, and wildlife. Traumatized means who's kind of shocked, kind of depressed, and he's not able to use his brain completely. That is the meaning of traumatized person. Like जैसे किसी को shock होता है, he's shocked, we say, right? And the effect is there for years together. That is called as traumatized person. Advancement means anything to do. So you can study, make them study, not necessarily through a school system. You can imbibe education in them through various modes. Not necessarily proper schooling should be there because that will come under educational services. Now here they're saying advancement of educational programs. So any other modes which you are deploying to make them read, that is called as advancement. Meditation programs, yes, spirituality, it will all get covered there. Okay. Next is, this is simple. This is the basic thing in terms of charitable organizations, but there are other services which are also exempted but related to charitable organizations that we will cover. Running of old age home. Okay, you can run an old age home, but there are some conditions. It should be for residents above 60 years. So we had seen somewhere just now that it can be elsewhere, right? So in that case, in terms of charitable activities, next is in terms of running a old age home. Here it should be for residents above 60 years. Just now we had seen something that advancement of prisoners, here it is 65 years. Persons above 65 years residing in rural areas is for advancement of educational programs or skill development. But for running old age home, the limit is 60 years. It is available, applicable for all residents. Okay. Now consideration, also there's a condition that first is it should be for residents above 60 years. Second condition is that it should be for a consideration up to rupees 25,000 per month. If the consideration is above that, then they will not get any exemption. The first is you have to get yourself into the mind that, okay, I'm going to run an old age home, whatever may be the cost, I will take the risk and burden of it. Okay. So that is for residents above 60 years, and consideration should be rupees 25,000 per month per person. Now this consideration is like a rent. So if an old age home is running a old age home and they are saying that, okay, the value for this is monthly, you have to pay 15,000 rupees, then it is exempted. But if they say it is 35,000 rupees, then it is not exempted because the limit says that you should be a resident more than 21 years and consideration for that, including stay, boarding, lodging, maintenance, everything should be up to 20,000 rupees. Only then it is exempted. If it is above that, then it will become taxable. Yeah. If it is 35,000, then what do you think? Will the 10,000 be taxable? Very good question by Pranav saying that, okay, I've said 25,000, sir. So if the consideration is 35,000, then will the 10,000 be taxable or the whole 35,000 will be taxable? Correct. If you are saying 10,000, no, actually, this is the limit. Above this, it will become completely taxable. This is not like a threshold limit. Okay. This is the limit. Above this, if you have anything, then you have to charge full 35,000 on this. Okay. Old age home and charitable activities, we understood. Clear? I've given you sufficient time to digest this also. Next is renting of the area. Now, charitable activities is done. You have given exemption for the charitable activities. Now, there is some presence of religious place, which means, let me delete this. Presence matlab within the same surrounding of a premise, not outside, but within the premise, which means that you should be having a place within your charitable organization. They say if you go to a church, within the church area, you'll see some small shops are there. Within a temple or gurudwara, there will be some shops within the vicinity, inside the temple itself, and the temple is giving it for rent. Now, temple is managed by whom? By a trust. Now, that trust will get the 12AA and 12AB notification, exemption from the income tax, and they will be renting the premises. This renting of premises should be within the presence of the premises. Okay? If it is outside, then this exemption will not be there. It will be taxable. Anything of this sort is just within the premises. What all they can do, they can provide the room for rent, because for pilgrimage to come and stay and do the darshan, they may say that, okay, you may take the rooms, and they are providing the rooms. Now, when it will be exempted, if the room rent is up to rupees 999 per day. So we have to consider these pointers very well. I did not write 1000 because from 1000 onwards it will become taxable. Up to 999 it is exempted. If it is room rent, then 999 rupees per day. If it is a premises or kalyana mantapam, okay, if there is any choultry or kalyan mandapam within a temple, then if you're charging up to 9,999 per day, it will become exempted. If you're charging 11,000, okay, if it is kalyan mandapam, then it is 9,999. And then if they are renting out any shops, then it is 999 rupees per month. Room rent, we know it's on a daily basis, though mentioned daily. If it is Kalyan Mantapam, again it is day basis. If it is shops they will collect on a daily basis, it's on a monthly basis. So shops will be on month, other two will be on a daily basis of 999 and 999, 9999. Kalyana Mantap means any place which should be a function hall where some religious ceremony can be conducted, some marriage can be conducted. That is the meaning of a Kalyan Mantap. Is it monk? Monk services are separate Pandit services, but this is not monk. If 10,000, is it taxable or no? It is taxable. So once you charge 10,000 and anything above that, fully it will become taxable. Marriage hall, Kalyan Mantapam, you can call it as marriage hall. So this is with respect to the presence. What is written below religious place? I will come to that. Religious place, not monk. It is meant for general public. Religious place meant for general public. MEANT. If room rent up to 999 per day, premises Kalyan Mandapa up to 9,999, and shops up to 9,999. Now, one thing we need to note is that Pandit services are the person who provides religious ceremonies. Any person who conducts religious ceremony, his charges, जैसे आप पंडित को देते हो, right? Generally, that is what I can understand. But any services of a case of a religious ceremony, that will also be exempted. The person who is providing service, he will not collect GST because his services will be exempted. Presence means the vicinity. Okay, within the same compound, that is called as precincts. Bhavna, 10,000 or above, we had said no, that whole amount will be taxable, not the excess amount. Full amount will be taxable. Okay. What else? Religious Pandit services we got to know. Hostel accommodation by trust, that was there, that is gone. Okay. So earlier, apart from religious places, any other accommodation was provided was exempted if the room rent was 999. Like if you stay in a hotel and if the room rent was up to 999, it was exempt. Now that is gone. So who will get this exemption? Only a charitable organization which is giving rent within the presence of his premises will get this exemption. Anybody else who's having room elsewhere and they're charging even 500 rupees, they have to pay GST. Okay. So religious place, then here something is left out. Services by rehabilitation professionals. So any rehabilitational professional providing services. Who is a rehabilitational professional? Just say there is a drug addict person. Now he's come to a rehabilitation center. Now rehabilitation center also don't have so much of support or so much of resources. They will call some specialist. These specialists are called as rehabilitation professionals. Once these people come, they provide services to this 12AA entity, or they provide to any colleges, medical institutions, or educational institution. Then rehabilitation center will be, the rehabilitation center definitely will be exempted up to that limit what we had said. But the services provided this by this specialist rehabilitation therapist, they will also be exempted. So services of a rehabilitation professional is also exempted. Next is in terms of training or coaching in recreational activities relating to sports. Okay. When a 12AA or 12AB entity is providing training or coaching in recreational activities relating to sports, that also is exempted. They should be providing training of only sports. But anything related to arts, culture, okay, arts or culture can be provided by any person, not restricted to charitable activities. For charitable activity entity, what they have to provide? They have to provide any services relating to any recreational activities relating to sports. But for arts and culture, it need not be a 12AA entity. It can be anybody. Next is pilgrimage services, religious pilgrimage services provided by KMVNL, that is Kumaon Mandal Vikas Nigam Limited, जो है अपना कैलाश मानसरोवर, who does the in charge for Kailash Mansarovar, or a Hajj committee which takes the pilgrimage to the Hajj. Only these two, okay, pilgrimage is exempted. Any religious pilgrimage provided by these entity, Kumaon Mandal Vikas Nigam Limited or the Hajj committee, they will be one who will be exempted. So any, only these two specifically they have mentioned, KMVNL and Hajj committee. Okay, any doubts here? We have understood the exemption of charitable activities very clearly. Let me go through it in terms of what is there. Services relating to charitable activities are services by an entity registered under 12AA by way of charitable activities are exempted. Then services by specified organization in respect of religious pilgrimage by the Government of India under bilateral arrangement with whom? Hajj Committee or Kumaon Mandal Vikas Nigam Limited. Or services by way of training or coaching in recreational activities relating to arts or culture by anybody definitely, and sports by charitable entities registered under 12AA. So arts and culture exemption will be available to anybody, but sports by charitable entities only will be exempted. So charitable activities is defined as activities in relation to public health by way of care or counseling, in terms of terminally ill persons or persons affected with HIV or AIDS, or persons addicted to dependence forming substance such as narcotic drugs, or public awareness of preventive health, family planning, or prevention of HIV infection. That is the first part, public health part. Second is advancement of religion, spirituality, or yoga. Third part is advancement of educational programs or skill development relating to abandoned, orphaned, or homeless children, physically or mentally abused or traumatized persons, prisoners, and persons above the age of 65 years residing in rural areas. Then fourth is in terms of preservation of environment, including watershed, forests, and wildlife. Then what else is exempted? Service by way of conduct of religious ceremony or renting of precincts of a religious place meant for general public, provided that this exemption will not be available where it is 1000 or more. So since the law, the notification says that 1000 or more, so you have to keep in mind the exemption will be up to 999 for rent of the rooms, and for rent of premises the exemption will be up to 9999. And if it is a place for giving a community hall or a marriage hall, a kalyan mandapam, it will 9999 per day. And if it is for renting of shops or other spaces, then it is up to 9999. Till then, renting of shops will be exempted. If it touches 10,000, then it will become taxable. So, yeah, there are some questions here before move on. So, other committees are taxable? Yes. Hajj committee is one which takes the Hajj pilgrimages. People who worship Mohammedan law, they have to go to the Hajj. So, this Hajj committee will arrange for all the travel for these people, and they will collect such charges, right? So, whatever minimum charges they are collecting, that is also exempted from GST. Watershed means lakes, rivers. That is called as watershed, where water is stored. Okay. Services provided by charitable trust of specified services are exempted. But very important, services provided to these charitable trusts are not exempted. Which means if they are taking the services of a chartered accountant, they are taking the services of renting of premises. So the landlord will charge GST to them. The chartered accountant providing services to a charitable organization, they will charge GST to them. Because services provided by the charitable activities, charitable trusts are exempted. Services provided to them is not exempted. Somnath Trust outside shop in tax exemption or no? It will be taxable because is that shops within the precincts or outside the precincts that you have to go and evaluate. I have not been to Somnath. So if you think it is one premises, it all belongs to the temple itself and they are giving it on rent, then if it is that case, then it will be exempted provided the rent is up to 9999 per month. Then renting of precincts for its religious place. Activities other than above will be taxable irrespective of the manner or name. Example, donation when they are collecting. Will it be taxable or no? It will not be taxable if it is within the activities of advancement of religions. If they are providing anything else, if they're selling some goods and they are getting the consideration in terms of donation, then that donation also will become taxable. So what do we understand from this is all donations are not exempted. Only donations which satisfy the conditions what is specified will be exempted. Then, if there is no quid pro quo, matlab, when I'm giving you a donation, I'm not expecting something in return. I'm just giving you a donation. Then only it's a pure donation. Then it is not a consideration. If the donation is with some quid pro quo, then it becomes a donation. It becomes a consideration, and GST will become payable. Okay, so we have to be careful when we go to any charitable activities. We have to determine whether the activities are covered under 12AA, and if you are giving any donation, that will become exempted. But if this donation is for some quid pro quo, something in return, then it will become taxable. Philanthropic donation, correct. It should be philanthropic donation. Correct. Nandagopal, if these rooms, premises, and shops are in the vicinity of a temple or religious place, only in that case it is exempted. CA facility by charitable institution to others is exempted. Okay. And CA provide facility to charitable institution is taxable. Correct. You're right. Say, for example, there are 20 shops around the temple and the land is owned by the temple. Will their rent be exempted? Yes. If the land is owned by the temple and it is within the temple land itself. Suppose I have a temple over here. Other 5 kilometers away from here also I have another land belonging to the temple, right? But it will still be taxable because it is not within the presence. Presence means mandir hai, mandir ke bagal mein rehna chahiye. There is a temple, next to the temple there should be a shop. Nothing that, okay, it is so far away that also will get exemption. No. Every shops held by a charitable organization is not exempted. Only those which are within its presence will be exempted. So that were the exemption in terms of the charitable or religious organization. Next exemption is in terms of the agricultural services. Okay, just a moment. Next is in terms of agricultural services. Can you just repeat the CA example? Okay, so let's put a question so that we're all refreshed. A chartered accountant is providing services to a charitable organization. It is a 12AA entity. They've got the registration and now they are providing, a chartered accountant is providing under income tax, there is a certificate of utilization of the 85% of the funds. So to certify this, a CA is providing services. Will it be taxable or exempted? It will be exempted. Hardik Marwa, how are you saying it is exempted? And even your friend Nanda Gopal. Everyone else is saying taxable. You're right. He took 12AA provision. See, a chartered accountant cannot take 12AA provision. Okay. A charitable trust only can take a 12AA exemption. Now, the services provided these charitable organizations are exempted, but services provided to this organization, that is not exempted. That is taxable. So when you provide as a chartered accountant, as a landlord charging some rent to a temple, then you are to pay GST. That will be borne as a cost to the charitable organization. Once this charitable organization provides services to anybody else, then that will be exempted. But all their input services will be taxable itself. Okay. Okay. Any more doubts in terms of charitable organizations? Arts and culture will be exempt under training and coaching. Arts and culture will be exempt. Yes, it will be exempt, not under training and coaching. It says that any arts and culture provided by anybody, not restricted to 12AA entity, even if a non 12AA entity, individual is providing any arts and culture related training, it will be exempted. Yes, then their ITC will be lapsed. If you're providing exempt services, your ITC will be lapsed. And they cannot claim the ITC. Shop rent not understood. Sambeshwari, shop rent says that when you have a temple premises and within that for temple, people come and buy flowers. For that flowers, there is a place which you have. You don't want to lose out. So you're giving this shop for rent. Now that shop where it is selling flowers, it is within the temple itself. One few people sell outside, but within the temple also you have one. Now for that temple shop fellow, you're collecting rent of 8,000 rupees. Then it will become exempted. That is what it says in terms of the shop rent. Yeah, skill development training program camp conducted. Yes, it will be exempted. When it will be exempted? It will be exempted when it's provided to specified category of people. It will not be available to everyone. Okay. When it is in relation to training or development, which is educational program or skill development relating to abandoned, orphaned, or homeless children. Normal children, if you provide, it will become taxable. Or you're providing to physically, mentally abused or traumatized person, then also it's exempted. Then if you are providing it to prisoners or persons, any persons who are about the age of 65 years residing in rural areas, for these four category of people, if you provide any kind of skill development or educational program, then it will be exempted. Skill development program, Praveen, will come to the educational services. That time you can ask this, but it will not get exempted under here. Here, if you're providing these advancement only, then it will be exempted. Yes, general accommodation in hotel is deleted. Orphan means जिसके people who don't have parents. Okay, small kids who don't have parents, they're called orphans. So they stay in an orphanage, that is called as orphaned children. If a person is providing art and cultural activity to a person who's above 65 years, is it exempted in city area? Yes, because art and cultural services, training or coaching services in relation to art and culture is exempted, provided to anybody. Now we have covered charitable activities. Now let's quickly go to the next activity in terms of agricultural activities. Agriculture activities says that basic requirement is agriculture is a basic requirement. So when you see agriculture produce fruits, vegetables, cereals, pulses, they are all exempted, right? Because this is the basic requirement. Food is a basic requirement. Food, water, and shelter, we say, right? So, uh, so agriculture activities are exempted. So agricultural produce will be exempted. But now there is some distinction that all agriculture produce what we consume are not agriculture produce because they get converted from the primary market to the secondary market. So all those activities up to the primary market, jahan se, where they cut it from the farm and put it to the market where they have to sell. That activity is called as primary market up to the place where it is primarily sold. That is called as primary market. From the primary market, then it comes to a secondary market. So up to primary market, whatever activity is done, that is exempted. Now, what is this primary market? Each village or each town will have a agriculture produce marketing committee. It's called as APMC committee. Okay. Agriculture produce marketing committee does what? They collect some charges from the people who want to sell. Whatever they come and sell, there will be buyers who will buy. Okay. But to give access and place to that, there is a place called APMC, Agriculture Produce Marketing Committee. Mandis or kind of markets are there. Those APMC services are also exempted because the agriculture cost should not increase. So they will have very minimal market fees or license fees or rents, but such fees will be exempted. But tax will be exempted. Basic value you have to pay. Cotton, correct. Cotton is a primary produce. When the cotton gets refined, then it will become a secondary produce. So all this sales up to this first APMC is exempted. After that, it is taxable. Now, what are the services? So registration requirement, we have to understand that agriculturist is not required to take registration. Under the registration chapter, we'll read that people who are not required to take registration, one of them is the agriculturist. Why or what volume? To the extent of the produce out of cultivation from the land. Whatever he's selling it from the cultivation of the land, he's an agriculturist. It is not liable to GST, so he need not take any GST registration. But after registration part, we have to understand that what are all the services which gets exempted. So agriculturist, if he does, let's take an example now. Agriculturist is there. Now, income tax also, agriculture is income exempted, correct. So agriculturist is exempted from GST registration. He has turnover from the agriculture produce of 1 crore. Should he take registration or no? They are made for secondary market. They come to the primary market, then some process is carried on, then it is sold. So such products will have a secondary market and it is taxable. So everybody is saying that no, he will have to not pay GST for 1 crore of turnover because he is okay. Ajay Surya is saying he has to register. Why so, Ajay Surya? Since he's crossed the basic exemption limit. Okay, even if he's crossed the basic exemption limit, it says that it is exempted because agriculturist or even in registration will see a person who's providing only exempted services need not take any registration. Even if his limit crosses, if he's providing only exempted services, then he need not be liable to GST. Now, what else is exempted? Renting of vacant land. renting of vacant land with or without structure is also exempted. Okay. Renting of vacant land. A agriculturist has a land. Now he's giving away his land because he's not cultivating it and he does not want to waste it. So what he's doing, he's giving this land to somebody else. Now that person is using this land. Now that land is exempted. Now if there is any structures in the land, they say there is a farmland and it has a place for the farmer to take rest, or it is a place where all the food grains will be stored. So that structure, which is incidental to its use, will also be exempted. You cannot say that land means only land. Any incidental structures, motor room, very good. They will also be called as incidental to its, and it will not be taxable. It could be a farmland. In the farmland, you will have a motor room. So that is for the purpose of getting water and distributing it to the farm, right? So motor room, those structures will be also considered as part of the land, and any rent which he collects will be exempted. Okay. Or so renting of vacant land or renting of any agricultural machinery, which is called as agro machines, those will also be exempted. So renting of vacant land or renting of agro machine will be exempted. Then services in relation to cultivation of plants or rearing of life forms of animals. Any services for cultivation of plants and rearing of life forms of animals except horse. Horses are not considered as part of the normal animal, so it is exempted because horse generally is used for the horse races itself, which is a commercial activity. So rearing of any form of animals, which one you will rear? You will rear generally domestic animals like hen, dog, cat, sheep, goat. Those are the ones which you will do the rearing. And when it says rearing of animals, it could be for food, fiber, fuel, or raw materials. And there's a star, which means that animals would include, agriculture as such would include pisciculture, where it is breeding of fish, sericulture, where it is rearing of silkworms, or floriculture, which is cultivation of ornamental flowers. So these three, that is pisciculture, sericulture, and floriculture, these are also called as agriculture activities. Within this agriculture, this also gets included. So these activities of cultivation or rearing of life forms of animals are also exempted. They are also exempted. They are not taxable. These are also exempted. Silkworm, yes, all of that will be rearing of life forms of animals. That will also be exempted. So services of this, sir, ये chart भी upload कर देना board. Yes, this will also be part of the study material, the PPT which I will upload. So this will be there. Cultivating of expensive flowers. Yes, ornamental flowers. Cultivation of ornamental flowers also exempted. Yes. Fish, silkworm, and the last one, fish is pisciculture. Rearing of silkworm is sericulture. Last one is floriculture, cultivation of ornamental flowers. Okay. Now, what all agricultural activities? Agriculture operations of cultivation, harvesting, threshing, plant protection, testing, whatever is done at the farm. Okay. That is all exempted. Cultivation of plants, harvesting, cutting of plants, threshing, cutting and then separating it, plant protection activities, testing, all of that is exempted. Supply of farm labor. You're a contractor or a person who knows a lot of people and a farmer is in need of it. You are supplying the resources there. So supply of farm labor is also exempted. Then the process carried out at agricultural farm, that is cutting, harvesting, sorting, grading, which does not alter the essential characters. This is very important. So all processes up to the place where it does not alter the essential characters, but makes it marketable for the primary market. Any activities which you do which is up to the stage of primary market. Okay, what is primary market? That APMC mart, which I've said, wherein the farmers come and sell it. To bring that to that place, you may have to do little kind of loose packaging, that you cannot bring the grains just like that. You may put it in big sacks. That level, up till that level, what activity you do, that is exempted. After primary market, if you do anything, that is secondary market, that will be taxable. Then any kind of warehousing. Fumigation in a warehouse was exempted. Now it is taxable. That's why I mentioned in red that fumigation, when you get it, what is fumigation? Spreading of harmful gases so that the germs and insects doesn't come. So that fumigation activity in the warehouse where you store the agriculture produce were all exempted. Now fumigation also is taxable. Then warehousing was generally fumigation is now taxable. Warehousing services where the agriculture produce is stored, okay, that will also be exempted. But for what? Warehousing of minor forest produce, warehousing of agriculture produce and rice. Why rice is mentioned specifically when they've said agriculture produce? Because rice also is not a produce from the primary market. What comes before rice is paddy. Okay. From the paddy, then rice is used. So rice is actually a secondary market, but warehousing of agriculture and price will also be exempted. Then warehousing of cereals, pulses, fruits, nuts, and vegetables. Only this are exempted. Others which have been striked off was exempted. Now it becomes taxable. Why I've mentioned here? So that if there's any question which confuses you, you need to be aware. Okay. Fresh produce is only exempted. Correct. So warehousing of cereals, pulses, fruits, nuts, and vegetables only are exempted. Then APMC market, that market what we said primary market, if they are collecting any charges, that is exempted. Now in that market, you will have commission agents also who will help you to find a buyer. Now that commission agents activity also is exempted because it is required that your agriculture produce has to get sold. That will be sold through a commission agent. So that will also be exempted. Then loading, unloading, packaging or storing of agriculture produce or rice. Any person who is collecting charges for loading and unloading, for packaging, that will also be exempted. Then transportation of agriculture produce by a road, rail, or vessel. Any GTA you're engaging, so no reverse charge will happen because transportation of agriculture produce are exempted. So that is this. Apart from this, special services like agriculture extension services, like some people give training, undertake melas or kisan clubs. Melas are exhibition or kinds of kisan clubs, are they give knowledge in terms of giving them scientific knowledge to agriculture practices. All of that consideration, anything is collected, will be exempted. Or artificial insemination in the animals. Any artificial insemination which they're doing so that the produce should be more, that will also be exempted, except horses. So horses, everywhere it will be excluded. Then what will be taxable? Process which alters the essential character of the agriculture produce will be taxable. Like potato is exempted. Potato chips is taxable. Tomato is exempted. Tomato ketchup is taxable. Or any kind of process which makes the agriculture produce marketable. Like I told you, key agriculture produce, the exemption is only for an agriculturist. Anything beyond that will be taxable. Okay, very detailed study we had. There are some queries. So in loose rice sales exempted and rice sales in packaged bags are taxable. Correct. Agriculture is very predominant, right? Which we use for food every day. That's why most of the agriculture activities will be exempted. APMC means Agriculture Produce Marketing Committee. Every town or every village you see, they will have this APMC warehouse or a place where it is a market, where the sellers will bring their primary produce and the buyers interested will come there. And the buyers will not be retail buyers because they need to buy full trucks together. So there'll be wholesalers who will come and buy it. So that place is called as APMC, Agriculture Produce Marketing Committee. Ashirwad from Atta from ITC is exempt or no? So there are two things, Ritika. We'll have to check. Is it a service? We are talking about services. So here it doesn't get serviced. But for goods exemption, we have to go to the goods exemption part, that notification, and see whether it is exempted. It may be exempted. It is not agriculture produce for sure, because agriculture produce is the wheat. From wheat, we get the wheat grains, and then it is grinded to make the atta. So the atta is a secondary produce, but it may be exempted because the government thinks it has to be exempted. So in the exemption notification, they would have mentioned it. Sabzi mandi is APMC, sir. Yes, jo badi sabzi mandi hai, that is APMC. Dry fruits also is exempted. See, goods exemption or not exemption, that's a separate thing. But agriculture produce is these things what we are talking. Paddy processed into rice, is it taxable? Yes. And then again, there are limits for that in terms of the weights and the packaging. Yeah, dry fruits is secondary produce, but when the government wants to encourage sale of dry fruits, then they can give an exemption for that. Correct. Cycled. Correct. Anaj mandi is APMC, right? Services by way of loading, unloading, storing, or packaging of rice, all of this is exempted, sir. Then FCI, Food Corporation of India, storage and transport from and to are also exempted. See, Food Corporation is a government undertaking, right? So any transportation we do for that is from a agricultural land itself, correct? So agriculturists, the farmers, give their produce to FCI. So such transportation and storage will also be exempted. What is NABARD activity, Tambeshwari? What does NABARD do? GTA in agriculture. So if you are using a transporter, a railway, any of these to transport your agriculture produce, whatever you grow, you use it like rice and things like that, right? Such GTA services are exempted. Okay. Sale of loading, unloading, packaging, storing, and warehousing of rice. Specifically, rice, they've said, even though rice is not a primary produce, but rice is a staple food. So rice is exempted. NABARD finances agriculture activities. So it is not covered under this exemption. Agriculture committee in national stage. So they call it as APMC in each place. So each of them will be a separate place, not at the national stage. Services by way of warehousing of minor forest produce. Service by way of storaging or warehousing of, again here, some products have been reduced. Services by fumigation is gone, now it becomes taxable. Carrying out of an intermediate production process or a job work in relation to cultivation of a plant. So any job work doing any of these services, that is also exempted. Services by way of cultivation of plants and rearing of all life forms of animals except rearing of horses for food, raw material, or other similar produce by way of agriculture operations, supply of farm labor, process carried out at agriculture farm, then renting or leasing of agriculture machinery or a vacant land with or without structure. So this is how it is given in the definition. I have given this in a diagram so that we can understand it. Okay, so we have some questions. Shall we take the questions now or after the break? after the break now. Okay. So we'll take this now and then we'll take a break. Agriculture produce means any produce of cultivation of plants and rearing of all life forms of animal. Okay. So all life forms of animals and production of plants is all called as agriculture produce. So how do you distinguish fruits as a agriculture produce, but dried or processed foods is not agriculture produce because it is not for the primary market, it is for the secondary market. Then pineapple as such is a agriculture produce. Tinned pineapple is a non-agriculture produce. Tea leaves, okay, the tea leaves, what we see in hill stations, those tea leaves are exempted. But when you dry it, there is a factory process which happens in terms of those leaves. They are shredded and they are dried in a factory. Then the tea, what we drink at home, comes in. So this is not a primary produce. This is again a non-agriculture produce. Coffee beans also, there'll be coffee beans. They break it and they process it. That is called as processed coffee beans. What we get at the home is powder of the processed coffee beans. Then sugarcane is a primary produce. Jaggery या गुड़ जो बोलते हैं, that is a secondary produce, non-agriculture produce. Whole pulse grain is a primary produce, and pulses dehusked or split is a non-agriculture produce. Paddy, the rice with the husk is called as paddy. When you go to a rice farm, you will not see white rices. You will see only brown color. So that goes to the factory. From the factory, they process it, and you get rice from there. So that is the distinction between agriculture produce and a non-agriculture produce. Green tea or tea for consumption and processing of coffee beans is a secondary produce. Processing of sugarcane into jaggery changes its essential character. So that is also a secondary produce. Basmati rice, of course, a secondary produce. Then pulses, commonly known as dal, are also not a primary produce because there happens a dehusking or splitting process. That process are not done at the farm level, but are done by the pulse millers. So anything which goes to a factory and some activity has to be done, then that becomes a secondary market. Okay, so that were the questions which we had to discuss. Milling of paddy into rice, there was some video which you can, if you're interested, you can take a note of this so you'll understand how the milling of paddy to rice happens. That factory will be taxable. Yes, that factory, when they charge something, that will be taxable. Okay, we'll take a break for 10 minutes. What about wheat? Wheat is also same. Wheat also comes with a husk. When the husk is removed at the factory, then you get a wheat. Okay. Let us continue, sir. Now, once we have seen the two exemption notifications, exemption services, one is charitable and second is agriculture produce. Now, let's move to the third exemption, which is on educational services. Till here, we were telling that exemption is for the services provided by these entities, that is, charitable organizations and agricultural services. But services provided to them was all taxable. Now, in educational services, it is little different. Services provided to educational institution will also be taxable. Wheat is taxable. Riddhi, as again, we have to go to the rate and you'll see that wheat will be exempted. Okay. Wheat will be exempted because under the classification for goods, it will be exempted, not because what we are studying. So I will not be able to give you answer because otherwise other students will get confused. Whether a product is taxable or exempted is not part of your syllabus. Whether it is taxable or exempted, you will have to go and find out the HSN and go to that rate notification for goods. Then you will get a correct answer. Okay. Okay. In terms of educational services, what they're saying is services received by a educational institution, which means what? Any services provided to an educational institution will be exempted. Apart from that, services provided by the educational institution is definitely exempted because when you go to schools, colleges, you see that educational services are exempted. So first we'll understand what are the services which are exempted, which are provided by the educational institution. Whatever they provide studies, education, right? So whatever educational services they provide, so services provided by educational institution to its students, faculty and staff is exempted. And any services in relation to conduct of entrance examination, right? Because then it is not a student, because until a person joins the school or college, he's not a student. But to do the filtering, to do the tracing, they need to have an entrance examination. So for that entrance examination, if they are collecting any entrance fees, that is also exempted. And services which they provide to its students, faculty, and staff, right, for educational, and the fees what the educational institution collects, it is exempted. So whatever fees we are paying, be rest assured that it is all exempted. Then that is plain vanilla simple कि whatever educational institution जो school college provide करता है वो exempted है. Now, second part is services received by an educational institution. What are the services received by an educational institution? They are also exempted. What are that services? Services in relation to transportation of students, faculty, and staff of the eligible educational institution. So, any kind of transportation of students, faculty, and staff, teachers, students को जो टेम्पो या फिर buses होते हैं, those services are exempted. Then services of catering services, including any midday meal scheme sponsored by the government, that is also exempted, wherein some schools provide food to its students and faculties. That is also exempted. On that, there is no GST. Then security or cleaning or housekeeping services in such educational institution. Now, bus ka service, food service, and housekeeping service. These three are exempted to whom? These are exempted to preschool and HSC, matlab higher secondary school. So any preschool, that is kindergarten, LKG, UKG, whatever you say, before first standard, whatever studies is required, those preschools and schools up to you get a board examination. That could be 10th in some state or it could be 12th standard in some state. up to the schooling level, highest schooling level, what is there? That is called as higher secondary school. So from the childhood, what schools you have till the higher secondary school, all of that, when you provide transportation, bus services, when you provide food to the students, when you have a security agents, you're providing services to a school, you don't have to charge GST. Okay. When you are a security service, security company, you're providing services to a school, you should not charge GST to the school. Okay. So this is up to the first three services are up to pre-school and higher secondary school. Fourth is services related to admission to such institution or conduct of examination. Now, if the school or colleges is having a admission process and it cannot handle, it is hiring a outside agency. When you are an agency who are providing educational services, today the schools are become so very, very famous that they are not able to handle the intake of the students, that they get thousands of applications and they don't have such staff to handle it. So what they do, they tell some agency or a consulting company saying that you handle all the admission process. So when I will handle the admission process, I will employ 10 people, I will make a system and everything and make sure that the admission process is smooth. Now, when I provide the services of 10 people sitting for 5 days over there at the school, I will charge them something. Now, on that charges, I will not charge GST because services relating to admission to such institution for conduct of examination is exempt for all educational institutions. Okay, it's not only limited to pre-secondary, preschool, higher secondary school. It is available to all educational institutions, also to colleges also. Okay. So first four services are available to pre-school, higher secondary school, but the fourth is available to everybody. Now, fifth service, which is when you supply to a school or colleges, nowadays online mode is becoming very common. So when you supply online journals or periodicals, okay, weekly, what is getting published, or monthly update, what is getting published, that is called as journals, relation to the education sector. So supply of online educational journals or periodicals to whom beyond higher secondary school, colleges, degrees, institutions, when you supply these online educational journals or periodicals, that becomes exempted. At what level? At level beyond the higher secondary school exemptions. Okay. What is the doubt here? Sir, if school provides a trip to its students, will it be exempted? Yes. Transportation of students, it will still be exempted because transportation of students, it doesn't say transportation of students from home to school, school to home, right? Transportation of students generally, it said, is exempted. It will become exempted. ICAI issues monthly journals. Is it also exempted? Yes, that is also exempted. Okay. So before getting into the intricacies, we have to understand what is an educational institution. Educational institution means an institution. Just that you are very good at teaching. You open a coaching center. Will you be called as an educational institution? No, because you need to satisfy the conditions. After HSC, is transportation taxable? Yes. Transportation only up to preschool and HSC is exempted. Above that will be taxable. Okay, very nice. Now, what is an educational institution? Educational institution means an institution providing services by way of preschool education and education up to higher secondary school or equivalent. Okay, any institution which provides these services or education as a part of curriculum for obtaining a qualification recognized by any law for the time being in force. Okay, so pre-education and education up to higher secondary school, we understand, wherein they have to take approval from the government bodies to set up a school. That education is exempted. Now, after this, you may have other courses or other services after higher secondary school. Now, will that be taxable or exempted? To decide that, we have to see whatever courses has been provided, whether they are a part of curriculum for obtaining a qualification recognized by any law for the time being in force. When they say any law, it could be educational law, it could be in terms of health law, things like that, but that law should be in Indian law. It could be criminal law, it could be accountancy law, any law. That law means it should be a Indian law, any law in India. Okay. If you are going to a college and not getting any degree, then that is not part of the education as a part of curriculum for obtaining a qualification. If you're not getting a qualification from there, then it is not exempted. You have to, that education, what that college or that institution is providing, that should be recognized by the law. Okay. And third is education as a part of an approved vocation educational course. Secondary school. Second is terms of colleges, degrees, universities which are providing a qualification recognized by law. Third is education as a part of a approved vocational annual, approved vocational education course. Matlab, what is approved vocational education course also is defined. It is a course which is run by an industrial training institution, which is famously called in many states as ITI. So people who are not good in studies, they can go to these ITI centers and learn soft skills, learn how to do machine work, how to do hands-on repair work, right? Those ITIs give you the skills. So they are not strictly academic courses, but they give vocational educational courses. So they are called as vocational education courses, which can be ITI or ITCs, Industrial Training Center, affiliated to the National Council for Vocational Training. Okay. Or it could be a modular employable skill course. So you are doing kind of a institution where you are teaching people how to do tailoring, how to do carpentering, how to do plumbing, how to do repairing. But such skill course should be approved by NCVT, National Council for Vocational Training. Okay. When you are providing such services, which is approved by National Council for Vocational Training, and it is run by a person registered with the Director General of Training, you should get registered with the Director General of Training, and it should be approved by NCVT. Then your vocational educational course also will be exempted. Okay. So very simple. Generally, what we see is schools, colleges. But apart from schools, colleges, we have to be very careful. Colleges that is providing a degree, a qualification. And third is in terms of a approved vocational educational course. Curriculum means your syllabus, your fixed curriculum सिखाया जाता है, because it can't be open ended na, so it should be a fixed module ki this curriculum you will follow, like state syllabus we will follow ICSE syllabus, CBSE syllabus, that is called as curriculum. ICAI board of also comes under educational institution, yes, because you're getting a qualification, no, recognized by law. A chartered accountant is recognized by law, so that's why it comes under the educational institution. Now we understood the definition of education institution. Now you read this and see if there is any difference. Because what all categories are there? Everything is there. 3 categories here. 2 categories will get the exemption. And then this will be for all and beyond higher secondary school. Supply of online periodicals, journals, educational journals and periodicals. Midday meal provided by school without government scheme, still it is exempted. Whatever catering services provided by schools is exempted. Admission to institutions. Yes, when you have to admit to a college, right? The rush is so high that you need some specified agencies to manage it. These agencies manage the admission process. They guide you on complete thing of the colleges or schools. So that institution, that organization which does the admission process charges something to the school or colleges, those charges will be exempted. So an ICAI branch, yes, still it is still ICAI branch also. It is for the purpose of CA itself. They're not taking non-CA courses, correct? If they would have taken non-CA courses, then it would have been a different thing. They are taking coaching for CA classes itself, then it is exempted. So that brings to a good question that this board of studies, online virtual studies, what we are undergoing now for the past so many days which we have been going, is it taxable or exempted? Correct, Hardik. Journals exemption is available only to colleges. And even to that skill vocational training also, because it says anybody about that higher secondary school. In module to vocational, it's not given. Search for it properly, you'll get it. Praveen, I'll come to your question. First, answer this question. I'll come to your question. A CA institute, right, when it becomes taxable or exempted, first to tell exempt or taxable, there has to be consideration. Is there any consideration for this BOS virtual classes? If there is a consideration, then the exemption comes in. Is it a supply? As I had said, the chart, we had seen the chart, right? That what is the flow? The flow is that first it has to be covered under section 7. It should be a supply. Is this a supply? It is not a supply, because to satisfy a supply, it has to be one of the 8 forms of supply, and there has to be consideration. In this case, there is no consideration. So then if there is no consideration, there is no exemption. There has to be consideration. It should be supply, only then exemption will come. Okay. Now the question a lot of people are now asking is whether private CA coaching classes, are they exempted or not? Just because I said BOS is exempted, or I didn't say BOS exempted, I said there's no consideration. Say BOS charges a nominal charge from you, then it will be exempted. But a private coaching center conducting CA, will that be taxable or exempted? Nanda Gopal gave the correct answer, saying it is, gave the first answer saying it is exempted. They are taking consideration, so it becomes charitable. Shruti. So in case BOS collects, will it be taxable then? Okay, BOS is exempted. So you're saying BO is exempted, and private coaching, it will be taxable. Because the private coaching, are they giving you a degree recognized by law? They are not giving you a degree, right? They are only giving you coaching, and from that coaching, you're writing a course which is recognized by law. So ICAI providing services is exempted. Private coaching, they are not giving you any degree, so that is taxable. Private coaching has consideration. Yes, consideration is there, but it is not satisfying the condition of a educational institution. So it will be taxable. Okay, other than admission work like conducting exam and correctioning of exam paper will be taxable. Correct. It will be taxable because only admission they have said is exempted. Apart from that, everything else will be taxable. Vocational courses education means that education which is not involving books, involving skills, involving soft skills, involving your hands. That is called as vocational education course. Okay. So educational institutions, we are clear now. Now some more questions. Correction of paper is outside will only be taxable. Correct. It will be taxable. Because specifically, they very clearly mentioned that 3 + 1 4 services relating to admission. They have not said any. They've said also conduct of examination. Please be noted. This is very careful because you have asked a correct question whether only admission. Yes, admission and conduct of examination. So any agency which you outsource for conduct of examination will be exempted. Okay. So again, this I've written a separate slide to just bring the dry point saying that for a preschool and higher secondary school, 4 services. For education institution providing education as a part of curriculum for obtaining recognized qualification, 2 services. And education institution providing education as a part of approved vocational course, 1 service is exempted. Conduct of examination includes correction. Yes, because that conduct will stretch up to the correction. So that will also be covered. Paper correction will be exempted. Entrance fees. So there is a clarification with saying that any authority, board, or body set up by the central government or state government for conducting of entrance examination. Like when you go to engineering colleges, you have to write the entrance examination. Now that entrance examination for admission to educational institutions shall be treated as educational institution and it will be exempted.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, checking of fees if outsourced. Checking of fees, I am saying checking of examination if outsourced, then it will
Yes.
be taxable.
No, when they're saying services relating to admission or conduct of examination, okay? When they say conduct of examination, then that is also exempted.
Even if it is outsourced.
Yes, yes, even if it is outsourced. Because
Okay,
within the school, if it is there, then nobody is paying anything. They're only paying salary to their teachers, right?
okay, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
सर फॉर एग्जाम्पल जैसे गवर्नमेंट टेस्ट होते हैं एचटेट सीटेट या कोई भी जी मेंस वगैरह के तो वो जैसे किसी इंस्टीट्यूट में ऑर्गेनाइज कराए जाते हैं तो वहां पर जैसे कंडक्शन ऑफ एग्जामिनेशन हो रहा है तो वो एग्जाम्प्ट होगा क्या?
या कंडक्ट ऑफ एंट्रेंस एग्जामिनेशन जो हो गया वो एग्जेम्पशन रहेगा, लेकिन प्राइवेट इंस्टीट्यूशंस आपको कुछ ट्रेनिंग दे रही है तब वो टैक्सेबल हो जाएगा।
ओके सर, एंड वन मोर एग्जांपल, जैसे किसी स्कूल में बोर्ड के जैसे सीबीएसई बोर्ड एचबीएसई बोर्ड के एग्जाम होते हैं और उनके पेपर वहाँ की टीचर चेक करती है या कोई आउट और अदर टीचर चेक करती है तो वो एग्जामिशन लिमिट में आएगा क्या?
नहीं, उसमें तो कुछ टैक्सेबल नहीं रहेगा, बिकॉज वो जो सीबीएसई वगैरह बोर्ड्स रहते हैं वो दूसरे स्कूल के टीचर्स को ही करेक्शन करने देते हैं, करेक्ट। उसके लिए उनको अलग कंसिडरेशन नहीं मिलता है कि आपके बच्चे के पेपर्स आप करेक्ट नहीं करोगे, दूसरे बच्चों के पेपर्स आप करेक्ट करते हो। सो दैट्स पार्ट ऑफ योर सैलरी पैकेज इटसेल्फ कि आपको बच्चों को सिखाना भी है और एग्जामिनेशन के पेपर्स भी करेक्ट करना है।
बट सर के लिए अलग से पे करती है ना गवर्नमेंट, सीबीएसई बोर्ड अलग से पे करती है सर।
ओके, तो अलग से कंडक्ट पे करती है तो फिर एग्जेम्प्टेड रहेगा, बिकॉज conduct of examination will include conduct of examination and correction of examination. तो वो जो consideration देती है that will be exempted.
ओके सर, थैंक यू सर।
ICAI is providing us books with free coupon. Now there's a mixed supply or only supply. Now coupon is a voucher, right? You see the time of supply for voucher, we'll get to know that voucher is different, books is separate. Now books, printed books are exempted because they are coming under the exemption of the books. That's the reason it become exempted. Now, along with your examination fees, if books are conducted, then it's a composite supply where the primary objective is admission and ancillary is books. Admission in ICAI registration fees. So when you had taken registration, Ritika, did you pay GST or no? What about others when you had registered? Did you pay GST? No GST on registration fees. 200 rupees extra they took. What does mean by extra? Aisha is saying GST is charged. Are you sure, Aisha? Why did they charge for you and not for others? Sai Kumar, I'm seeing your question in terms of 73 and 74. So I cannot explain that over here because this is not part of the course. So that cannot be discussed here, sir. No GST on fees, but banking services of credit card charge 200. Yes. So ICAI is providing a course which is recognized by law, that is exempted. But for the online banking, the banker would have charged something. That is for the banking services. That on that GST will be applicable. Okay. Conduct of entrance examination, we have clarified this, by any board or authority will be exempted because they will be treated as educational institution for the limited purpose of conducting entrance examination. Therefore, GST shall not apply to any fees or amount charged by such board for conduct of such examination, including entrance examination. GST is also exempt on input service relating to admission to or conduct of examination. So online test service, result publication, printing of notification, admit card, question papers, all of that will be included in the admission process. Then GST is applicable to other services provided by such boards, namely, now educational institutions, they have to get a recognition, so they will get a certification wherein the boards will come to the colleges and they'll give accreditation. Now, for such accreditation, it is not directly related to educational services. That will become correction of paper has consideration. Still, it is in relation to your exams itself, right? That will also be exempted. Private institution entrance exam, still it will be exempted even if it is a private institution, because private institution anyways we have said conduct of examination is exempted. The question came that apart from colleges, some boards are doing. They are not educational institution, they are boards. That's why they clarified that educational institution we know definitely is exempted. Boards also will be exempted is what it's saying. So accreditation also will be taxable. Well, this is a very tricky question now after Babwa Sahib Nagari has asked whether GST is applicable for school uniform. Some schools sell school uniform, right? Is it part of educational service? No, it is not part of educational service. Unless they collect fees altogether, then you don't have an option but to buy it from there. Then it becomes composite supply. But if they are only selling school uniforms, it is a independent supply. So school will become exempted. Uniforms and books will be taxable. Some schools, as I'm saying, Pranav, it's part of admission, some it is not. So if they are not charging separately, okay, then it can be composite supply. Mixed supply, little doubtful, because they say you cannot buy from anywhere else apart from us. Then what do? Then it is a composite supply. But where they are charging separately, saying admission fees, book fees, uniform fees, it means they are separate supply. It cannot be a mixed supply because each of them can be separately recognized. There is a separate value for it, right? In case of mixed supply, the value will be bunched together, they'll be coupled together. So in exempt supply, is it exempt? If it is exempt supply, what is the principal supply? Education. If education is exempt, other service also will be exempt. So if it is a composite supply, then that uniforms and books will be exempted. Private institution also taking high amount of entrance fees, then also it's exempted. Yes, correct. The volume or the value doesn't matter. What is the exemption? Is that satisfying? Yes, then exemption will be available. So in case of CA coaching institution conduct entrance examination due to high demand or scholarship exam. Didn't understand your question, Praveen. School uniform bought from market is taxable. Yes, it is a textile. It is taxable. What is accreditation? Accreditation means getting a certificate saying that this is a best school. This is a quality A. This is grade A certified school. So that certification, what is given, that is called as accreditation. Like NAC, NBA, some colleges we would have seen, right? So that services is called as accreditation services. Okay. Next is food services at educational institution. If the catering services are provided by an educational institution to its students, faculty and staff, then we know it is exempted. But if catering are provided to anyone other than educational institution, that is like a mess or canteen, then it is liable to GST. Then if catering services are provided to preschool and higher secondary, we know it is exempted. Supply of food in Anganwadis and school also, it says that Anganwadi, means a type of informal school, right? But it is run by the government. Anganwadis are preschools, not formal education. They teach basic things for children. Since it's a preschool, then food provided to them also is exempted. So midday meals, when they provide to Anganwadis, preschools, and higher secondary schools, all of that is exempted. So any kind of certification, Bhavna, in terms of some coaching institution gives skill enhancing training and certification, that will be taxable. We'll see that now in the next clarification. Boarding schools. Before that, Tambeshwari, just 1 minute, let me complete this. Boarding schools, when you go to school, you come back. But some schools are like hostels or boarding schools wherein you can go and stay there. Okay. Generally, we say we'll send you to boarding school if you don't behave at the home, because there you have to do all the work by your own. So such boarding schools provide stay also. What is the primary objective? Primary objective is education. Stay is ancillary. So boarding schools services are also exempted because it's still a educational institution. Dual qualification, where only one is recognized and other is not recognized. Some colleges give this dual qualifications. You will get a degree and you will get a CMA course which is outside India. Now, since that is not recognized by law in India, that becomes taxable. Fees is collected together. There it becomes a mixed supply. Then the entire service will become liable to GST. Be careful. Dual qualifications where only one is recognized, it become a mixed supply and the other one is taxable. It means it's a mixed supply, right? Because they are not naturally bundled, they are artificially bundled. Then that whole service will become taxable. Now, IIM, Indian Institution of Management, provides long-term courses. Okay. That is exempt. The normal IIM degree, management degree, what you get is exempted. Now they provide short-term participation certificates like a weekly program, monthly program they do. That is not recognized by law. They just give you a participation certificate. With that, you don't get any recognition. It's just that you can't have that has a brand value that is taxable. Fees charged from prospective employers. When a company comes at the college and college says, okay, you can recruit. For that, you have to pay some charges. That is taxable. Entrance fees is exempted. Eligibility certificate exempted. Transfer certificate also is exempted. Then maritime courses approved by Director General of Shipping. That is also exempted. Okay, a lot of questions here. In case of private coaching, okay, for children, artificially bundled, okay. What is Swayam? Yes, when it is artificially bundled, it is taxable. What is maritime course? Maritime course is that जो naval course होते हैं, they conduct maritime courses for training on the Navy type things. That is called as maritime course. That is Director General of Shipping gives the training of how to manage in the ship when you're going on a wreck or on a trip to another country in terms of your work, how to handle the breeze, how to handle the climate, how to handle the weather. That is all exempted because that is part of the educational institution, because once you're qualified, only then you can go there. That's where it is a degree recognized by law, it becomes exempted. Shruti, which one didn't understand? Fourth point you have not understood. Okay. Fourth point is fees charged from prospective employers. So in a college, you know that after degree at the last semester, you'll find some companies coming in for recruiting the students. Now for that, college says you have to pay me a fees per student, 1,000 rupees. Will that be taxable or exempt? It will be taxable because campus placement, it is not educational service. It is another service. So that fee is what you collect from the students or from the from the company. Sometimes you may collect from the students also. That is also taxable. Food service is liable in liable GST. No, food service is not liable. Up to higher secondary school, any food services provided will be exempted. Going for educational tour and expense for the tour is fully paid by the institution, then it will be taxable or exempted. So that will be taxable because services provided in terms of only transportation, it says. This is not transportation, this is a tour. That will become taxable. IIM wala part, prospective employers, I've told you this. ICAI provides certification course. Will it be taxable? Yes, that will be taxable. Like for the members, whatever courses they're conducting, CPE courses, all of that will be taxable. Previous slide. Okay, what is there in previous slide? Kambeshwari, in interest of time, can you unmute yourself?
I'm audible, sir?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. In this case, liable to GST if catering service are provided to any one other than the education institutes. In
Correct.
this case, sir.
So in a college, in a school, if you have a canteen, okay, in the canteen, other than students can also go and buy. Visitors can also buy.
No.
So that is all taxable.
Sir, in this case, school in this team and comes and tea services too. It is exempted or taxable?
What? Tell that again.
मतलब सर किसी स्कूल के अंदर चाय वाला सर टीचर लोगों को चाय सर्विस देता है तो वो टैक्सेबल है या exempted है?
Exempted hoga because any services of food. So all of that is part of food itself, that will be exempted.
Okay, sir. Understand.
Sir, like in the school, if we are provided with extracurricular activities or any kind of hobby classes or any kind of like valuable skills that are composite, then it will be exempted.
Yeah, if it is composite, it will be exempted. But some schools charge separate and few students who are interested can join it. Then if they are collecting separate charges, then it will be taxable because it's not part of the educational service.
If a separate billing is done for it, then it will be taxable.
Correct, correct.
And sir, one more doubt, sir, if we are going on a school trip, like school trips our charges are taken by the school, or if we go on a school trip for 3 to 4 days, like a outstation trip, then school trip for 1 day, like a picnic, is exempted, and for 3-4 days if we go with our friends, then it will be taxable.
Yeah, if you're going with your friends, it will be taxable. If the school is taking for 3-4 days, then they generally call it as educational trip, right?
Yes,
when they don't teach you anything, but they show you in terms and they teach you a lot. So then also it will be exempted.
Okay, educational trips are also exempted.
Correct.
Sir, I have doubt in place of supply, sir.
Okay. So place of supply, we'll break the flow. So after the exemption chapter, you can ask. Tournaments के लिए जाते हैं, that is taxable or exempt. For tournaments, whatever you go, that is paid to another school, right? So that will also be exempted because all part of educational, sports, all of that will be exempted. Mess facilities in MBBS or IIT exempt or taxable? it is after higher secondary school. That will be taxable because only up to higher secondary school food is exempted. After that, it is all taxable. Some colleges provide preparation classes for MBAs, building and extra charges. Will it be taxable? Still, it is educational thing itself. It will be exempted. In case school provide NEET, JEE coaching as a bundle, yeah, then if it's a bundled, then it is exempt because NEET, JEE is also courses just recognized by law in India. So it will be exempted. Okay, so wish you a very happy Diwali in advance. We will not have classes during this week. We'll again continue in the next week then. Okay, go through the classes like somebody was asking on place of supply. Sorry, I couldn't answer it now. So once we finish the chapter, I will take up that question. Thank you very much. Thank you all.